Disclaimer. The content provided here is for reference, information purposes only. The World Health Organization has declared an infodemic of incorrect information about the virus, which poses risks to global health.
To understand exactly how this originated is critical knowledge for preventing this from happening in the future. The Washington Post's article and subsequent broadcasts drew criticism from virologist Angela Rasmussen of Columbia University, who stated, "It's irresponsible for political reporters like Rajan to uncritically regurgitate a secret cable without asking a single virologist, or ecologist, or making any attempt to understand the scientific context." Rasmussen later compared biosafety procedure concerns to having the health inspector come to your restaurant. It could just be, "Oh, you need to keep your chemical showers better stocked." It doesn't suggest, however, that there are tremendous problems. Jonna Mazet, professor of epidemiology at the University of California, Davis, and director of the PREDICT project to monitor emerging viruses, has commented that staff at the Wuhan Institute of Virology were trained at U.S. labs and follow high safety standards, and that all of the evidence points to this not being a laboratory accident. Days later, multiple media outlets confirmed that U.S. intelligence officials were investigating the possibility that the virus started in the WIV. On April 23, Vox presented disputed arguments on lab leakage claims from several scientists. Scientists suggested that virus samples cultured in the lab have significant amount of difference compared with SARS-CoV-2. The virus institution which sampled RATG13 in Yunnan, the closest known relative of the NES. Further explanation needed. Coronavirus, with a 96% shared genome. Edward Holmes, SARS-CoV-2 researcher at the University of Sydney, explained that 4% of difference is equivalent to an average of 50 years, and at least 20 years, of evolutionary change. Virologist Peter Daszak, president of the EcoHealth Alliance, which studies emerging infectious diseases, noted the estimate that 1.7 million people in Southeast Asia who live or work in proximity to bats are infected each year with bat coronaviruses. In the interview with Vox, he comments, "There are probably half a dozen people that do work in those labs. So let's compare 1 million to 7 million people a year to half a dozen people. It's just not logical." On April 30, the New York Times reported that the Trump administration demanded that intelligence agencies find evidence linking WIV with the origin of SARS-CoV-2. Secretary of State and former Central Intelligence Agency, CIA, Director Mike Pompeo, was reportedly leading the push on finding information regarding the virus origin. Analysts were concerned that pressure from senior officials could distort assessments from the intelligence community. Anthony Ruggiero, the head of the National Security Council, which was responsible for tracking weapons of mass destruction, expressed frustration during a video conference that the CIA was unable to reach a definite explanation of the virus's origin. According to current and former government officials, as of April 30, 2020, the CIA has yet to find any information other than circumstantial to bolster the lab theory. United States intelligence officers suggested that Chinese officials tried to conceal the severity of the outbreak in early days, but no evidence has shown China attempted to cover up a lab accident. One day later, Trump claimed to possess evidence of the lab theory, but offered no further details. Jamie Metzlow, a senior fellow at the Atlantic Council, claimed the SARS-CoV-2 virus likely came from a Wuhan virology testing laboratory, based on circumstantial evidence. He was quoted as saying, "I have no definitive way of proving this thesis." On May 4, the Australian tabloid The Daily Telegraph claimed that a reportedly leaked dossier from Five Eyes, an intelligence alliance, alleged the probable outbreak was from the Wuhan lab. Fox News and national security commentators in the U.S. quickly followed up the Telegraph story, raising tensions within the international intelligence community. The Australian government, which is part of the Five Eyes Alliance, determined the leaked dossier was not a Five Eyes document, but a compilation of open-source materials that contained no information generated by intelligence gathering. The German intelligence community denied the claim of the leaked dossier, instead supporting the probability of a natural cause. The Australian government sees the promotion of the lab theory from the United States counterproductive to Australia's push for a more broad international supported independent inquiry into the virus origins. Senior officials in the Australian government speculated the dossier was leaked by the United States Embassy in Canberra, to promote a narrative in Australian media that diverged from the mainstream belief of Australia. Beijing rejected the White House's claim, calling the claim part of an election year strategy by President Donald Trump's Republican Party. Hua Chunying, Chinese Foreign Ministry spokeswoman, urged Mike Pompeo to present evidence for his claim. Mr. Pompeo cannot present any evidence because he does not have any, Hua told a journalist during a regular briefing. This matter should be handled by scientists and professionals instead of politicians out of their domestic political needs. The Chinese ambassador, in an opinion published in the Washington Post, called on the White House to end the blame game over the coronavirus. As of May 5, assessments and internal sources from the Five Eyes nations indicated that the coronavirus outbreak being the result of a laboratory accident was highly unlikely, since the human infection was highly likely a result of natural human and animal interaction. However, to reach a conclusion with total certainty would still require greater cooperation and transparency from the Chinese side. On May 16, 2020, China reported that their current official position on the source of the COVID-19 virus may be summarized as follows: the conspiracy theory about the origin of the new coronavirus has no substantive content. In fact, there is evidence to support the natural emergence of new coronaviruses, and preliminary genotyping studies have shown the relationship between the coronavirus and other bat viruses. We must be careful not to blame the rumors in an irresponsible way, and use the global crisis to grab political scores. As of May 18, 2020, an official UN investigation into the origins of the COVID-19 virus, supported by over 120 countries, was being considered. Conspiracy theories. Bioengineered virus. In 2015, Nature Medicine published a study, including Shi Zhenli, who in 2019 identified SARS-CoV-2 in Wuhan, on creating a chimeric virus pathogenic to humans. This publication later in 2019 sparked speculations that SARS-CoV-2 is a variant of such human-engineered virus. In 2020, Nature Medicine published an article arguing against the conspiracy theory that the virus was created artificially. The high affinity binding of its peplomers to human angiotensin-converting enzyme 2, ACE2, was shown to be most likely the result of natural selection on a human or human-like ACE2 that permits another optimal binding solution to arise. In case of genetic manipulation, one of the several reverse genetic systems for beta coronaviruses would probably have been used, while the genetic data irrefutably showed that the virus is not derived from a previously used virus template. The overall molecular structure of the virus was found to be distinct from the known coronaviruses and most closely resembles that of viruses of bats and pangolins that were little studied and never known to harm humans. In February 2020, the Financial Times quoted virus expert and global co-lead coronavirus investigator Trevor Bedford, "There is no evidence whatsoever of genetic engineering that we can find, and the evidence we have is that the mutations in the virus are completely consistent with natural evolution." Bedford further explained, the most likely scenario, based on genetic analysis, was that the virus was transmitted by a bat to another mammal between 20–70 years ago. This intermediary animal not yet identified passed it on to its first human host in the city of Wuhan in late November or early December 2019. On February 19, 2020, The Lancet published a letter of a group of scientists condemning conspiracy theories suggesting that COVID-19 does not have a natural origin. Even so, conspiracy theories have appeared both in social media and in mainstream news outlets, and are heavily influenced by geopolitics.